Hey bros, I just want to take the chance to re-record this whilst I can, so I can talk a little bit more openly, a little bit more freely about what happened. So as you may know by now, I was abused by my father growing up. I'd mentioned that there were two instances of acute trauma which I experienced, and this took the form of what I would describe as terror tactics, sort of kicking in my bedroom door, smashing the place up, screaming at me, that kind of thing. Fortunately, I was never physically attacked, so quite lucky in that regard. Just these intimidation tactics were used to put me into a constant state of fear, and essentially as a means of controlling me. At its worst, that took the form of waiting until I'd be using the bathroom, waiting until I'd be taking a shower, and then kicking in the bathroom door and screaming at me, and whilst I'm naked and vulnerable, as a way of traumatizing me, intimidating me, again, as a means of control. This type of thing was taking place over an extended period of what's known as chronic trauma, which lasted about 10 years, which is just the constant, emotional abuse, the controlling behavior, things like, being forced to live in a freezing cold house. We lived in a 300-year-old building, extremely cold, and it's never allowed to put the heating on or anything like that, so it's freezing cold all the time. Probably, again, something that comes from military training or police training. Keeping somebody cold is a way of raising anxiety, making sure they're in a constant state of anxiety. Not being able to do what I want, not being able to have friends over. Something I heard a lot growing up was, "Oh, we don't want to come over to yours because your dad's there," type of thing. Having girlfriends over, big no-go. That was always a real point of conflict with my father. It causes all kinds of issues beyond the anxiety and the depression, self-esteem issues. You don't have any control over your own life, so you feel worthless. You feel completely unlovable. It really ruins a person. I understand now, after counseling, coaching, therapy, my own research, that my parents, not my biological mother, but my father and my stepmother, are narcissists, and they use basically every technique in the book, every form of narcissistic abuse under the sun. Yeah, it still affects me, though I am recovering now. I'm in the process of trying to disown my family at this point and sort of build the life that I want. The narcissist is actually an incredibly insecure person, and they're also incapable of feeling happy for others. They're also incapable of empathy. So there's some overlap with psychopathy in that regard. And the insecurity leads them to use certain strategies to feel better about themselves by putting others down. So I think my father actually felt clever that he was able to manipulate me and betray my trust. And I think he also felt powerful because he was able to intimidate me. There's also a component of jealousy. Whilst a normal parent would want the best for their child, a narcissistic parent is actually jealous of their own child, jealous of their opportunities, jealous of their youth, maybe jealous of their abilities, that kind of thing. There's also a lot of weird mental gymnastics that narcissists will do, where they'll convince themselves that they've done a person a favor by abusing them. Oh, I've taught them a lesson. Oh, they're so much stronger now. I'm the good person because I've abused them. I've molded them into something so much greater than they were before if I hadn't abused them. Just really weird stuff like that. Narcissists are also obsessed with what I like to call keeping up appearances, where they present an image to the outside world, an image of a highly reputable, successful person with a perfect life, while secretly they're mentally ill, immature, and deeply dysfunctional people. They simply don't possess the level of vulnerability that it would take to admit that they have a problem and work on themselves. They'll also play the blame game. It's your fault for believing me when I lied to you. You're just too weak to handle it. They'll say anything to absolve themselves of responsibility, because remember, they're a perfect, infallible being that knows everything. Or at least that's the image they have to project because they're so deeply insecure. Another technique employed by the narcissist is what's known as gaslighting, which is essentially a means of driving a person insane by invalidating their sense of reality. So this can take the form of trying to convince you that what's good is bad and what's bad is good, and it can also take the form of trying to convince you that you're just paranoid, even if you have something to genuinely be concerned about, whether that be something the narcissist themselves is doing to you, or if you have something else to be concerned about, they'll tell you, oh, you're just being paranoid, that's not real. This is something I've experienced all my life, and when I eventually confronted my abuser, they attempted to gaslight me into believing that it was not abuse, that it was normal, and that it's normal to live in fear of your parents, and obviously that's not normal or healthy in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, they're just incapable of admitting that. Something I've recently learned about narcissists is that they are amongst the least likely, if not the least likely, people in the world to ever change. They will never change, most likely. And the appropriate course of action if you have a narcissistic abuser in your life is to remove them from your life as soon as possible and to cut all contact with them. That was definitely a mistake that I made, though I didn't know at the time. I, for a long time, made the mistake of believing that they have the capacity for change, which they do not. Okay, well, this video has turned into something slightly different than I had intended. So instead of just repeating the stuff that I said in the last video, I'm going to leave it at that. We've kind of done a deep dive on narcissists here or something, I'm not sure. But this is everything that I've experienced and learned dealing with narcissistic parents. I'm really hoping that I'll be successful. Owning my family and rebuild from here. So thanks for listening, and if you're experiencing any of the same, please seek help immediately. I hope some of my experiences help shed light on the situation for you. I'm wishing you all the best. Thanks again, and take it easy, dude. But take it. See you in the next one. Peace.